Why, hello there, my fellow spacefarers. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Kerbal Space Program 2, Episode 4, Decouple and Fly to the Sun. I think it's because the command pod that Jeb is in is faced in a different cardinal direction as the tin can pods previously. So east is a different key on my keyboard now, which is what messed with me. But I can see that now. So I'm already starting the slight gravity turn towards east here. And I'm a better pilot this time around. I hope. Time will tell. We'll see if I explode. Just being very gentle. Cracking me. Oh god. I feel like Dr. Strangelove riding the nuke. Yeah! I need a cowboy hat. I have a cowboy hat. Maybe I should grab it. Go full Strangelove. So we've broken thick atmo. We're in the thinner atmo. Apoaps is about 20k up. Gonna start the gravity turn a little bit heavier now. Get more tilt. Oh, too much. And this is where we wobble to death. No, we're good. We are good. What I really need is this to start to circularize using the Clydesdales, the solid boosters, because the Labradoodle engine that we have is just really underpowered, and its thrust to weight ratio sucks, so the burn timer is going to be really long as a result. We are now in thin atmo. We are our apoaps is almost space, and I'm going to start gravity turning even harder. Makanko, thank you for the resub. Alright, let's really start to... Oh god. This thing's a behemoth. Keep going. Alright, so our apoaps is 100k, so I'm going to start really tilting to use the Clydesdales to start to circularize. Even tilting below horizon for the most circularization I can get out of the solid boosters. But we're about to lose the solid boosters in like 3 seconds. And choke. Separate. Woo! And, why the heck does this thing not have fuel? Game. Oh, there it goes. No? Yes? No? Okay, it has fuel. It just was, like, not calculating. Okay, so our apoaps is about 113k. I'll probably need to circularize really early on because of how low thrust I've got this craft at. Let's start calculating it out. The maneuver doesn't seem to be working. I don't know what to say. Let's point prograde and just start manually doing it. I did mention this a few times already, which is the maneuver planner, like, kind of harder to use. I think what it's saying is I don't have enough thrust-to-weight ratio to not crash back into Kerbin. No, I'm... okay. Why am I pointed retrograde despite telling the game to point me prograde? Because of problems. Come on, buddy. You could do it. We could also ditch the fairings. So... I don't... what is that? Payload? Bye, fairings. So now we have that giant communication satellite. There's other fairings on here, too. A lot of cargo bays. Okay, so let's start. We're sort of pointing prograde. Prograde enough that I'm going to start firing it up. What I should have done is added RCS for stability. So yeah, I think it's trying to tell me that I have no hope of circularizing before we crash, but we'll see. Just because I'm so low thrust, but it's a very efficient engine. If you want to see solar panels, because we're in space now, there's no air resistors or anything like that, we can deploy them. They should look pretty cool. And then we can also turn on the lights, too. Although I'm in the sun, it would look a lot cooler if I wasn't. Oh, yeah. Still looks very cool. Jeb's digging it. There we go, correcting my heading so we're not off course. I'm probably pretty close to the apoaps now. Yeah. So it might just be that we're too low thrust to circularize, and I think that's what the game's telling me. Is like, even if I burn prograde as much as I can, we'll never not crash. Yeah, okay. So I'm pretty sure that's what it's telling me. So instead of wasting my time, I'm going to revert to the VAB. I could land this thing. There's no reason why I couldn't, but I'm not going to bother wasting that time because it takes too long. So instead of the Labradoodle engine, which was high efficient, low thrust, we'll go with like a Mammoth or the second step down too. So this will be the Shona Mark III. So with that, all I'm really doing is replacing this thing, because it's too low thrust. So the thrust of that Labradoodle was, in vac, was 650 kilonewtons. So I can step it up to a Rhino, which is still pretty efficient, but a lot more thrust in vac. Done. I think this should be enough of a change to get me to space. So this is the Shona Mark III. Or not to get me into space, but get me into stable equatorial orbit. I don't... You know, I honestly, I don't feel like I needed RCS that much, because I was able to reposition without too much trouble. Go away, assembly inkers. You know, that I do have a reaction room already, so I'm going to launch this. Yeah, we eventually got into the correct position in order to get this going, so. Here we go. Skip the countdowns. And gun it. You like the look of this? Yeah. It should be pretty cool once it's in equatorial orbit. Big old space station. I should have right-clicked. I was like, I wonder what these trussings do. And the game's like, oh, well, let me figure that out for you. Choke. Doesn't do anything. It's just structural. You like the little sunset? Oh, it's rising in the east. Never mind. Can I explain why I need that small drive on stage 5? It's for re-entry. Jeb is not going to stay up in the space station, so it's a way for me to park the space station in equatorial orbit and then have Jeb come home. I might have leaned into the gravity turn a little bit too much, and I'm summoning the Kraken now. There we go. It's balancing out. Yeah, if you weren't here for the design of this, I'm just trying to park basically the top section of this rocket up into equatorial low orbit of Kerbin as a space station, and then have everything else come back down to Kerbin. Is this my first playtime? Yeah. I mean, the game released yesterday. I played it a little bit yesterday, trying to prepare for today. But not on stream. Hey, D. Thanks for tuning in and subbing, man. Cheers. Three more days. You know what I'm talking about. Got a stack of boxes just waiting. To the Mun! Well, this one's to Kerbin orbit, but the next one will be to the Mun. My own little Mun lander. Apoaps is now 35k. I should start to... Whoa! Okay. Little engine wash there. Anyone needed a quick tan? You'll end up looking like Deadpool. I tend to like to put, for space stations, not to go at, not to go as low as possible. Because if you're trying to dock with a space station and you put it in the lowest possible orbit, let's say 75k, it's really difficult to match the orbits. But if I put this into like 125k orbit or so, the craft that wants to dock, this gets a little confusing to players that don't understand orbital mechanics, but essentially the closer you orbit the planet, the faster your orbital period is around the planet. So I'm going to make up numbers just to make it easy. But let's say we put a space station at 400k. It will orbit Kerbin like once every 2 days. And then if we put a craft at 70k, it will orbit Kerbin once every day. And that allows a quick orbit and a slow orbit so that you can connect the two. That way they can rendezvous. So, in order to try to rendezvous with a space station, it's way easier if that space station is in a slightly higher orbit, so that any craft that wants to connect to that space station can do so by going to very low orbit, like a 72k orbit, and then matching and rendezvousing. So, next stage, let's go. Thunk. And then, for whatever reason, it doesn't, like, automatically turn on this engine. There we go. This is a wobbly craft. So let's see if this thing will, according to the game, circularize. with an engine that is way more thrust than the last one. Yeah. All right, so the required delta V is only about 770 or 760, and I have 4K delta V, so that should be no problem. I over-engineered it by many factors. I'll warp to next maneuver. Oh, I'm still on Atmo. So, yeah, warping next maneuver is going to be a little weird. I'll just wait. Warping when you're in Atmo is like physics warp, where physics applies, whereas warping in space like pauses physics because there's no things acting upon your ship. So right now I'm still technically in Kerbin's atmosphere. So time warping when you're in the atmosphere, yeah, it's a little weird. It could create like drag and air resistance and things like that you wouldn't want calculated with time warping. Man, this thing is not designed for stability at this phase, like at all. It's like a wobbly fish. There we go. Now I can warp to maneuver. Physics stops applying, and we'll circularize this bad boy. Maybe, or a crash. I don't know which. All right, so let's point to maneuver. I brought myself out of the time warp a little early. I'm going to give it a little gas so that we can start actually pointing this thing, because I don't have reaction RCS control systems. We can also jettison the fairings, although I'm not going to do that during the burn because... So I want to do that earlier then. So, couplings... No. Payload. Kick up the ejection force so it gets rid of it. And I'll burn a little early. Oh god. Oh, this is so sketchy build. Because I forgot to put in the re-entry vessel, I slapped it together and it didn't slap well. Is all I'm gonna say. This thing, by all rights, should snap. Really? You're not gonna let me time warp? Rude. Fine. Just keep circularizing. Ooh. I need struts between these two things. Please quit wobbling. The gimbaling engine's just like, I don't know what to do. Yeah, you and me both, engine. You and me both. This is Kraken bait? Yeah, it is. It's absolutely Kraken bait. I'm gonna make it worse. Tempting the fates to blow me up. I am turning on the lights and deploying these solar panels while trying to circularize my orbit. It's very pretty, though. I can't wait to see it in the dark. Instead of firing to the maneuver, I'm just going to fire prograde. Because that's basically what we want to do. Because the maneuver's not really relevant anymore. We've passed the... we passed the apoapse and the maneuver node like a long time ago. And the numbers to look at is the periapse. Basically, we are firing until that periapse is like 115, 125k, something like that. That's what matters. So that's the number to look at. And to make sure that the apoapse stays, you know, high. I wonder what my power generation on this thing is. I didn't calculate how much. 30 ECs times full. Wow, that's a lot of power per second under full solar. That's cool. So the apoapse is now, oddly enough, it's not showing on the map, but it's ahead of me, which is good. It means we're ascending, not descending. And the periapse is... Yeah, there we go. We have a periapse that is not ground, and we just need to raise this up to 70k. Although that apoapse is climbing in a way I don't like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blast upwards. So let's take control of the ship. How do I turn off the... Oh, there we go. Turn off the SAS controls. And try to get that periapse above without raising the apoapse too much. So point basically up. And that will raise mostly the periapse and not the apoapse. So that would be radial in, out. Yeah, I think it's radial out. Oh, don't step. Sketchy. No, you're kind of pointing retrograde now. Come on. Come on. Come on, you wobbly hunk of junk. What FPS is this? I would check, but I need all hands on deck right now. I guess what's really important is that my periapse goes to 70k, and then I'll fix the circularization later. Okay, so we're in orbital now. Got plenty of fuel left, got plenty of Delta V left. And I'm just raising the periapse a little bit further. So you asked about FPS. I'm in the process of building a new machine, which should handle next-gen games a little bit better. But my FPS is low. It's like between 20 and 40. I have my settings on really high, but what I have noticed is even setting your settings on low doesn't seem to help. But this is also one of those games where, like, almost nothing on the screen is moving other than just the ship itself. Oh, God, my periapse is bad now. What did I do? So here's why I don't... well, I guess we're heading to the apoapse, so it's fine. So I'll recircularize once we head to the apoapse. So I'm going to point prograde and raise the apo up to, like, 150k, and then circularize it about 150k. So apoapse is now 151. That's good enough. And then maneuver here to truly circularize. There we go. And let's warp to maneuver. And point to maneuver node. I could burn early, it doesn't really matter. Okay, we're almost done. Okay, periapse is 150k. So at the next periapse, let me trash this. At the next periapse, I will burn retrograde and lower the apoapse down to 150k. And then it will be a nice circular orbit, 150k up. And then I will have Jeb come back home after setting up the space station. So because I don't have powerful reaction wheels, we are still pointed basically prograde. It's the only reaction wheel I have on this thing is like a tiny one in the front section, which is less than ideal. But we're tumbling. It's working. Does the maneuver planner show the length of burn as a red line now? It's this white bar here that is the length of burn. It might show it here as well as the length of burn. Yeah. So it shows it in multiple spaces. So there is the burn time. As you can see, I'm not... I mess with the periaps a little bit. So I'm going to want to point prograde. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to jettison off the fuel because it's a lot of weight and I don't need that kind of fuel anymore. I can just use the re-entry tiny vessel. So the next maneuver I'm going to want to do is at the next apoapse, just to perfectly circularize. You know, as close to the 150 as I can. That would be like this maneuver. It's a delta V of 4. You know, it's almost no fuel. Okay, and point to the maneuver node. And now that I don't have all that like heavy fuel and engine, it's a little bit easier for the reaction wheel to angle us properly. Because this is not such a clumsy thing. Perfect. And I'll patiently wait for the start burn time. Trying to have limited eccentricity is the technical term. Hey, T-Man. Thank you for the resub. Oh, it would help if my engine was active. Oh, I am within less than 100 meters of a circular orbit. That is pretty good. That is pretty good. So eccentricity is the difference of apoapse to periapse. So like 1 would be a perfect circle, which is kind of impossible to achieve in real life. And then, you know, so the eccentricity of my orbit now is like 1.001 or something like that. You know, there's very little tolerance. So that there is what I wanted. Space station is all set. The one thing that this space station doesn't have is like a probe core. So once I disconnect from this station, it like is offline. Technically, it's like debris as far as the game's concerned, but it's gonna stay in orbit anyway. I hope. I also, before we deorbit and re-enter the atmosphere, I want to check out this thing in the dark. So I'm gonna time accelerate until the dark side of Kerbin. Where is the... Okay, there's the sun. Come on, block the sun. Blah. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. We've got the slightly... Okay, it's not as lit up as I thought it would be, but the LED of the docking ports are kind of cool. I wonder if I could change the color of them post-launch. Oh, I think I can. Yep. Let's go with green up top and red on the bottom. RGB. And then on the sides, we'll have blues. Oh, yeah. Now we're talking. There we go. All right, let's get out of here. So, this is the docking clampotron, and this is the decoupler. So let's decouple. Thunk. I think it's decoupled. Control from here. I don't seem to be able to do anything at the moment. Are you really decoupled? There's like a bunch of false stages here. I can't move. Oh, it's because I'm paused. Okay, I'm just a big idiot. Whoa! Wait! No! Where? Is that... What happened? I'm so confused. The space station seemed to have disappeared. It's flying into the sun? What the heck is going on? What the heck is going on? To infinity and beyond? The decoupling force was like if you got hit by Mjolnir. That's all I could say. So our little like reentry vehicle is all fine, but the space station that I wanted is being ejected out of the heliosphere, as far as I could tell. Where did it go? Is this it? No, maybe it's not. Hold on, let me check. No, it's fine. I don't know what that is. Maybe that's my... So, yeah, no, this vessel's fine. The Shona. I mean, it's tumbling, but it's otherwise fine. Yep. It's got fuel for anyone redocking. I can remove all the staging here. Oh, is there... Yeah, let me stage through everything, because this doesn't require staging. So Jeb... It says Jeb is attached to this vessel, which is definitely incorrect, because Jeb is not part of this vessel at all anymore. But, yeah, this thing is now in orbit. I believe that is a... Yes, this is a docking port, and then there's 4 more radial docking ports, and then the giant communication satellite on the top. Perfect. So it did work. We didn't eject this out to, like, nowhere, and it's called the Shona Mark III-6. So the other one that really needs help is the reentry vehicle, which is in some sort of crazy trajectory now. I'm a little worried about not being able to get him home, because the hell is happening right now? I don't even know. So, yeah, there are some issues. Don't leave me! So right now, I don't even... How did that even happen? So Jeb's controlling this little reentry vehicle, but this reentry vehicle got, like, yeeted like crazy. And I might not have the Delta V. I might not have the fuel to be able to get back to Kerbin. But what I could do is potentially just revert this flight so that he does it, like, magically. But let's see if I can burn Delta No, I run out of fuel before I get back to Kerbin. Okay, fine. That doesn't really seem to be my fault, though. One thing I could try to do is to gravity to, like, min-miss. So let's try that. Let's try to correct this without using dev mode. Or cheats or whatever. So, if I tried to do an intercept to min-miss, we do actually intercept min-miss on this course. Like, without me even doing anything. Barely, but technically we do. Right? Because this is the intercept. So I'm going to see if I can't adjust this maneuver to have us gravity turn around min-miss a little bit using whatever fuel we've got. I'm just fumbling around with the controls to try to figure out how to do a better intercept. I think we have to go up. Yeah. So, burn like that. Okay, let's try that. I'm going to use as little fuel as possible. I'll start the burn a little early. I'm going to have to be very careful with decouplers. They seem to be dangerous, to say the least. Probably one of those, like, will be patched in the next week or two kind of things. There was a post-launch analysis by the developers of, like, what they want to address immediately. And it was a pretty good list of things that they're like, hey, we're going to fix this pronto. One can make the argument that it should have already been included, but, you know, at least they're taking responsibility for the changes that need to be made. So there's something to be said for that, I think. The problem with the okay, so I don't think this is going to work because the relative speed between me and min-miss is greater than my delta V. So I'm just going to cancel this and time accelerate until the intercept. And probably just have to revert this flight because it ejected me with like 5,000 delta V ejection force somehow, making it like impossible to recover this flight without, you know, reverting it. I'm a little worried about reverting it. We'll just up and delete the space station that I put up there. Could I console an infinite fuel? I could. Yeah. I mean, let me just go with infinite propellant. I don't know if it works. Apply. Don't know if it quite works like that. Because the problem is I wasn't exactly on an intercept course with min-miss. I'm like flying past it. Am I using fuel now? No, I'm not using fuel anymore. So, infinite propellant has been enabled. It just flung me out of Kerbin's sphere of influence with such ridiculous force that I think I'm still just going to revert. Well, problem is if I revert, that reverts the space station too. So yeah, I'll just try to correct this with like infinite fuel because honestly, this was a bug to begin with. The issue is my surface velocity is ridiculous, and the thrust of this engine is really bad. What would actually help is for me to burn some of this fuel on purpose to make this vessel lighter, and then turn on the infinite fuel once the vessel's a lot lighter. So I'm going to purposely burn up some fuel just so that the thrust to weight ratio becomes more capable of course correcting. But the station is in a great orbit, and that's why I wanted to leave it alone. I didn't want to revert it, because that space station's in a super stable, non-eccentric orbit. Can I time warp while burning? Yeah. I can. Whoa. It's slowing me down, because it's like, you're running low on fuel. Here we go. Alright, so I'm very close to being out of fuel, so the game's like slowing down the time for my benefit. So now I'm going to enable infinite fuel and keep burning retrograde, and you can see my apoapse is collapsing on itself. And eventually it should stay within the sphere of influence of Kerbin. Can you stop? No, I'm not. I don't care about... Oh my god. Don't do that. Now I'm fighting with the game, because it's like, you're out of fuel. And it's like, I have infinite fuel. I don't know what you're talking about. I will fight you and lose. Whoa, Jesus. Okay. It eventually let me just do whatever I wanted, and after trying to fight its partial out of fuel orbital event, and ejected me into nowhere. So if we wanted to get back to Kerbin, it's way on the other side of the galaxy here. Or not galaxy, solar system. And now I need to wait years for an intercept. That's okay. Luckily, we're immortal and don't require food. This might be a close intercept path-ish. This is when you normally would just, like, revert, but I'm being stubborn. Jeb also seems to be invisible now. Jeb has gone full stealth mode here. I like how it warns me about no fuel. It's like, we're not using fuel, but okay. So let's burn like this, shrinking our orbit around the sun and allowing us to catch up to Kerbin, or at least an attempt. Just keep burning. Jeb, you in there, dude? He's embraced the void now. So we're kind of doing well, interstellar travel a little earlier than I thought. This burn time is ridiculous, though. The problem I have is, like, because we're so low on fuel, the game doesn't allow me to, like, time accelerate the way I want. I wonder if... And it looks like we don't re-angle the ship while time accelerating, because it doesn't let me thrust. So it might be one of those things that I just revert, which would be a little crushing. One thing I could try to do is go to the tracking station and just revert the specific thing I want to revert. So I want to revert the default name. Maybe I can just destroy it and bring Jeb back home via magic while leaving Shona. Okay, Shona's still in orbit. So that worked. I should have just done that to begin with. Using a little cheats to be able to offset some bugs. No problem there. Thank you for tuning in to Kerbal Space Program 2, which originally streamed live on Twitch, February 25th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my gaming community, Rhadamant.com also has a link to Discord, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream of mine. Farewell, my fellow Kerbonauts.